Thank you.
All right, up next, we got a couple minutes, not too many, just a couple minutes. We're going to hear from everybody's favorite daily DXer. Let's see, Bernie, you can.
He's there.
Yeah, no, I see him. It's great.
There he is.
Yes. Thank you. Hi, Bernie. So nice to see you. And this is a guy that we hate to say it, but we all wake up with Bernie every morning. That's right. He's made our life so much more interesting, collecting data that we could never get on our own. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and I'm going to turn it over to you. The stage is yours. You've got about 450 people online that are anxious to hear your words of wisdom.
Oh, good. Hey, good to see you, John and Rich and the rest of the guys. Appreciate the opportunity. John, you may have to talk me through getting this online. I've only done this a couple of times,
okay.
But I've got a PowerPoint.
There should be a share screen button.
There's a green button.
Share screen.
Yeah,
Yep.
The green one.
Okay.
If you click that green share screen button, you'll get an intermediate window that basically.
Yeah. Then
Oh yeah, you're already there.
Okay,
You've already done it.
Great. Well, I know when I first talked to you a couple of weeks ago, we said we were going to do the top 20. So I'm keeping the title, but we're actually going to go through 25 countries from the list, from the top 25. Let's see, what have I done here? You are sharing. Okay.
Yep, that slide
okay.
changed. Yep, you're good.
Okay, here we go. So we're going to talk about the top 25 countries, the most wanted DXCC entities. Just to give a little bit of background for some of our newer DXers. The most wanted lists kind of started actually fairly right after DXers kind of got back on the air after World War II, after the post-World War II. DXCC started up in 1945. By the mid 50s, we were starting to see some most wanted lists of some of the top DXers at that time, who probably had about 225 countries or so in the early 50s. It's these most wanted lists have been good for DXers. It kind of gives you an idea of what's needed on your list, what are the rarer ones. It also is helpful for the DXpeditioners, so they know where to go. And then there's different kinds of lists, if you will. You can do it by mode, or you can do it by band. You can do it even by continent, and even in some cases, Eastern Europe or Western Europe or East Coast or West Coast from the US. So it's a real nice tool to have. Some of you will remember the DX magazine put on by Carl N4AA, who's a silent key at this point. He used to do all of this manually before computers. He was doing it, and he would publish it every year in the January issue of the DX magazine. He would typically take the survey in the excuse me, in the September-October timeframe, and everyone would write down on his piece of paper which ones he needed. The ARL also has a kind of a most wanted list, if you will. It's the top 340, and it's a listing that's usually posted in January, and it lists out how many people have worked each of the countries. And usually at the bottom of the list is either Italy or the United States. But now we've got Club Log. We've had this for several years now. Michael, who some of you have seen on his presentation on Club Log, does the results based on log input. So no longer are people writing down on a piece of paper and mailing it in, and somebody looking at your piece of paper and calculating out how many countries are needed. It's all done by computers. So let's go on to and this list is based on the on Club Log's listing. The number 25 country is Syria, which has not been on. And one of the things that was brought up to my attention here recently, all of the top 25 countries have some kind of restriction, one way, shape, or another. And we'll be talking about some of them as we go through the list. But the last time Syria was on was by the Nationals, and that was back in 2011. Most, if not all, of the YK nationals have moved out of the country. At least one of them has passed away in country. The last big operation was YK1BA, who is an American, lives here, and he used to go every couple of years to visit family there, but his last time there was in 2010. And then the last DXpedition was by the 6G group back in 2008. After the war started up, the Civil War started up in 2011, the amateur radio operators from YK basically said, we're not going to go back on the air until after the war is over. And obviously, they haven't been on since. Number 24, for those of you who are chasing, this one is one you can get probably, you may have actually had an opportunity this weekend. JG8NQJ, TOC works at the weather station there on Minami Torishima, and he is currently there. He usually goes for typically 6 to 10 weeks or something like that. And he is there now. He will be there until mid-June. He typically, this trip, he's specifically operating, it seems, 17 meters CW. And normally he gets on 18.085 megahertz. Occasionally he'll show up on 0.090, but he's typically in the 0830 to 1100 Zulu timeframe. On weekends, he has been showing up just after 2200 Z. I haven't checked my records for this weekend to see if he did or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was on. And that 2200, again, that's 17 meters. That would be the best time for the North Americans. That 0800 to 1100 time frame would be best for the Europeans and anybody in Asia, just about. Number 23, Turkmenistan, Echo Zulu. It has not been on the air since August of 2006. If you've seen any spots on the DX packet cluster, it's either a bad spot or a pirate. It's usually a bad spot. It's usually someone has miscopied it. It's usually an Echo 7 station from Bosnia-Herzegovina. But the amateur radio has been banned basically since 2006. There are ham radio operators there. They are trying to get permission to operate. ZL9 is number 22. This one used to, the old timers will know this as Auckland and Campbell, but recently, over the last couple of years, they changed the name. The DXCC name now is New Zealand Subantarctic Islands. The last operation was from January of 2016. It was an IOTA operation by ZL9A. The next DXpedition, most of it, this is like one of the few DXpeditions that have been announced in the top 20. The Perseverance DX Group, they are hoping to get their permit approved, and they hope to be able to go in early 2022. or late 2022. And this is all based on the pandemic and when New Zealand will start to let foreigners into the country. So the ZL9 DXpedition is one we have to look forward to, and hopefully it'll be sometime in 22. Number 21, KH5 Palmyra and Jarvis, the last DXpedition here. Unfortunately, I can't see the year. John, is there a way we can eliminate? I see Rich and John and Brian and myself off on the right. Is there some way to put that up top?
Put what up on top?
I can't see anything from the year 2000, whatever, over on the right hand side of my screen. Is there a way we can move the other people on the right? There, my screen, Rich, you, and NT6F are all on the right hand side.
You shouldn't be seeing us at all because we don't have our video turned on.
Yeah, I don't see you, but I see little boxes.
If you do a right click in that box and say, don't show me anyone that's not showing video.
Hide non-video. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I'm a little new to this.
Okay,
Anyway, the last DXpedition was in January of 2016, K5P, which I believe John was part of. They made 79,000+ QSOs. This is a place, one of the few places of the KHs besides Hawaii that you can go to. If you go through the Nature Conservancy as an eco tourist, you can go to Palmyra. I'm not aware of any groups that are working on this one, but it is a possibility for someone to go to.
And there's a lesson learned here too, because it's still in the top 25, even though we were there for all of these DXpeditions. After 10 days to 2 weeks, you can hardly put a dent in the demand for these most wanted entities.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay, number 20, VP8 South Sandwich, which is basically on your way to nowhere. You have to specifically be wanting to go to South Sandwich because it's literally on the way to nowhere. The last DXpedition was by Paul and his crew, VP8 STI, back in 2016. They made just over 54,000 QSOs. I suspect it's probably going to be a very long time before anybody goes back here. It's expensive and way out of the way. Number 19, Mount Athos. I think most of us know that Monk Apollo has passed away about 2 years ago. We were told by some of the friends of Monk Apollo that they're training an operator who lives at the same monastery that Monk Apollo lives. We haven't seen any activity so far from whoever this new possible ham is. We have seen SV2 RSG, Monk Ivakos. In fact, I've had lunch with him years ago when he came and visited in, oh boy, I hope my internet's going to be okay. Just got a message. John, are you hearing me okay?
I'm hearing you fine. There was a little bit of a glitch a minute ago. You're okay for now.
Okay.
Yep.
Monk Ivakos was there last May for a couple of days, and he did operate, I think it was just on CW. This is the number 2, and I don't have to say this, this is the number 2 country for the West Coast of North America. I think most of the guys will tell you that. Number 18, KP5 Deshisheo, the last DXpedition here. fantastic operation by Bob Alphen and his group, K5D in 2009. They made 115,000 Qs, of which 32,000 were unique QSOs. They worked very well with the Fish and Wildlife Service, and I think they gave them nothing but praise after their DXpedition. Not aware of anything going on at this time, but it's probably about time for another one from this rare one. PY0T, Trindade and Martin Vaz. The last DXpedition was in 2015. It was PQ0T. There is currently a team looking at going here. There is something in the works. This one typically, and when I say typically, take out the word or take out your knowledge of pandemic, because that kind of screwed everything up. But typically this one would come on the air about every 3 or 4 years. And I know just before the pandemic struck that a group was working on this. I don't remember if they had announced this or not, but I'm not letting any secrets out. PY0S, not too far away. St. Peter and St. Paul Rocks is number 16. The last time this one was on the air was in 2015 by PY0S, a scientist who was there. The last DXpedition, where that's all they went for was just to operate, was in November of 2012. That was PT0S. And again, this is another one that usually comes on about every 3 to 5 years. There is a group looking at going here. ZS8, Prince Edward and Marion Islands. Typically, this one, you pretty much have to be on the scientific crew going there. You pretty much have to commit to being there for more than 12 months. The last place or the last operation from here was in 2017 with ZS8 Zulu. Again, this one, it's usually every year or two. One of the guys who goes on the scientific trip over, they are a ham. They're involved in the telecommunications and they happen to be a ham. Most of them are not, real experienced operators, but hey, somebody who's not experienced is better than someone that doesn't show up at all. So we have to take advantage of that and be on our best behavior and help them out as best we can. There have been multiple attempts to do a multi-op DXpedition. Nothing obviously has come about that. This is a tough one to get to for outsiders. I think one of the ZSs went over there for a couple of months and was able to do exclusive ham radio. I think that was back in the 90s, if I remember right. I think it was ZS6EZ or ZS6IR. I think it was IR. So it was possible at one time. KH4 Midway. This is number 14. The last activity from here was in 2011 by W5FJG, who was working on the island and was able to get on the air in his spare time. Several groups are working on trying to get to this one. I believe ham radio is an approved activity here. So maybe we may see this one in the near future. Number 13, YV0, Aves Island. The last DXpedition here was in 2007 by YW0DX. This is a real political one here on several fronts. There's 2 amateur radio clubs that have operated from Aves Island over the years. And in the old days, they were going about every 7 years, and they would flip back and forth between the 2 groups. It's now number 2 in Asia, and specifically, it's number 1 in Japan. I don't think we're going to see anything out of this one in the near future, just because of the current political situation within the country and their financial situation there. Number 12, Macquarie Island, VK0M. The last operation here was a real surprise, and he did quite well, actually, for especially the FT8 guys. He was there in 2019. He operated almost exclusively on FT8. Let's see, at least one team that I'm aware of is trying to go on a DXpedition there. I believe that would be a first. I don't think there has ever been a DXpedition to Macquarie. Typically what happens here is, again, just like ZS8, it's usually a technician who happens to be on the crew that goes to the island for a year, and he happens to be a ham radio operator. Many times they're new or not very experienced with working pilots. Glorioso, number 11, FTG. The last DXpedition here was in 2009 by the FT5WO crew, who did a fantastic job. I'm not aware of any upcoming DXpeditions, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a French team working on this. Speaking of French, Kerguelen, FTX, number 10. The last time someone was there was in 2017. He was a scientist, FT5XT. He was there for, I think, like 3 or 4 months, and was able to operate a little bit in his spare time when he wasn't observing things. And the last DXpedition here was in 2005. This is a working base, so we could see more in the future, possible a French operator go here and bring his radio along with him. Again, the last DXpedition 2005, FT5XO by the, I think it was the Micro Light guys, and they did a great job. 3Y, two 3Ys. This one's Peter 1. The last DXpedition here was in 2006 by the 3Y0X crew. They did a fantastic job. Ralph and Bob and company did a great job here. I don't know of any upcoming activity here or any plans. Number 8, KH3, Johnston Island. The last operation was by KT6E in 2003. I was there the year before as AH3D with Marty and Perti. Several groups I know that are working on this one. The Air Force has oversight on this island. The biggest concern is plutonium. And you need also not only to have the Air Force approve, but also the Fish and Wildlife Service must approve. At one point, there were crazy fire ants on the island. I believe they have since gotten rid of these ants. It is number 3 in Europe. Big demand there. KH7K, Curie Island. Last time on the air was a DXpedition in 2005 by K7C. This one is got a lot of approvals that need to take place. Mostly the biggest one is the oversight is taken by the Hawaiian Division of Forestry and Wildlife. But you also have to, I think you have to have approval from the Fish and Wildlife Service, NOAA, and the PMNN. At least one group is working on this one. I won't say any more about this. This is going to be a hard nut to crack. I'll just leave it at that. BV9P Pratis off the coast of Taiwan. This one hasn't been on since 2003. This is something that was in the works. I know it's currently under a political situation with the, let's just say, the hostilities between one of their neighbors. It's a real security nightmare to get there. So I'm not sure what we're going to see here. I do know a group was working on it probably about 2 or 3 years ago. I have not heard anything from them since. CE0X, the number one most inactive, it's the number one on the most inactive list. It's been 19 years since we've seen this one on the air, and that was XR0X. Thank goodness they did a fantastic job when they were there. But even so, since 2002, a lot of new hams have come on board, and the demand for this one has gone skyrocketing. There's 2 islands, San Felix, which I believe has a military base, and San Ambrosio, which I don't have any information on that. That's usually where in the past, one of the fishermen used to go, Lobster Man used to go. He would go operate on the radio in his spare time from there, but I don't think they're allowed to do that anymore. Number 4, probably the most controversial of all of the DXCC entities, BS7H, Scarborough Reef. Last DXpedition here was in 2007. Only 4 operations have ever taken place from here. And I'll leave it at that. Number 3, Crozet, FT5W. The last activity was FT5WO back in 2009. To my knowledge, there has never been a large-scale DXpedition. There are serious concerns about the conservation on the island. This is kind of the France's pride and joy, if you will, of and they want to keep it clean and very safe, and they're real worried about the ecosystem. This one is number 1 in South America and in the West Coast. 3Y, Bouvet. Here's another one we have a chance to work. In fact, we recently found out we're going to get 2 chances to possibly work this one. The last DXpedition here was in 1990 by the 3Y0X. I believe there were like 5 guys that went here. And then there's been several others since then, just one-man operations, if you will. 3Y0E was the last one. Petrus, I believe his name was. He was there in 2008 on a work assignment and was able to get on the air in his spare time. The last 2 attempts to Bouvet have failed, both because of mechanical failure on a ship and weather conditions prevented these 2 last operations to take place. 3Z9DX, Dom, is still planning to go in December of 2020, although he has not given too many details until the second group announced theirs. He did start to make a little more noise. The 3Y0I is his team. The 3Y0J is a second team that will be going in January 2023. It's 19 months from now, and that's by the Intrepid DX Group. And so we'll be hearing more about that. And I'm sure Paul gave a good presentation yesterday on this. Now the number 1 most wanted list, P5, North Korea. There has only been 4 operations since it was added to approved operations that were, it was added in 1995. There have been approximately 16, maybe 17,000 total QSOs, of which about 12,000 are unique QSOs. Only 12,000 DXers have this one confirmed, of which 7,885 of these uniques have been claimed under the DXCC awards. Multiple teams in the past have tried to get here. The last accepted operation was in December of 2015. I am aware of at least one party that is looking into going here. Other than that, it's been very, very quiet. So there you have the top 25 from Club Log. Now, this is just a quick look at the ARL top 340 list. And P5, this information is a little bit old. The league hasn't updated their records in a while. Z6 is there because at the time, so few people had submitted credit for it. I'm sure it's gone up since then. BS7H, FT5WO, and 3Y Bouvet. As I said, this data is a little bit old. This is just a comparison of the two, the top 5, P5, 3Y Bouvet, FTW, BS7H, and CE0X from Club Log. And then you can see the top 5 there from the ARL's list. I thought this would be fun to take a look at. This is the top 10 most wanted inactive list. In other words, which countries haven't been on the air the longest, for the longest time, in the inactive list. And you can see here CE0X at 19 years, KH3, BV9, KH7K, 3Y Peter 1, YV0, EZ, BS7H, 3Y Bouvet, and KP5. And so I think typically, let's see, trying to do a little quick math here. A lot of guys say how long it takes to get on the DXCC honor roll. Well, if you've been DXing since February 26th of 2009, that's what, 12 years? And you worked every country that had been on the air up until that point, it's possible you could be on the honor roll. So that's 12 years. And that's kind of typical since I've been a ham, since the mid 70s. It's typically ranged between 10 and 15 years. And no, I don't think we should delete countries just because they haven't been on the air. I also made a list of the top 10 most wanted active stations list, if you will. Here you can see, now I know it's been almost a year since Monkey Vakos was on the air, Mount Athos, but all the others have been on in the last 12 months, I believe, in some way, shape, form, or another. But these are, you know, they're rare countries and they're on the air. Some of them every day are close to it. 5A, 4U1, UN, T3 shows up quite often. S2 shows up very often, and Z6, TT8. I mean, half of these are on quite often. So that's pretty much it. I did want to plug my DailyDX. If anyone wants to try the DailyDX and the weekly DX, you can get a free 2-week trial by going to www.dailydx.com. I did want to thank the convention for inviting me to give this presentation. John, thank you for the invite, and Rich for doing this. And I'd also like to thank the audience for showing up, and I guess we may have a time for a few questions. I'll try to answer if I can. If I can't, I'll pass.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Well,
thank you.
I just want to make one comment. Bernie, it always amazes me. You and probably many of our attendees know that Anna, my girlfriend, and I often go on, you know, small, family DXpeditions, and we've done 20 or 30 of them. But every single time I get a new call sign for some new place we're going, it's like 20 minutes later, I get an email from you asking for details of the operation. You are right on top of it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you filling me in on the details.
He's connected. Who's with us is Michael Wells. He's online right now. And Michael, I'm going to open up your microphone. I hope you're still awake. And
Hi there.
hey Michael, I saw your note in the Q&A about how DXpedition's rankings move around. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, Bernie, thanks for name dropping how Clublog was used there, and it's great that you've picked up on its flexibility. The thing that I think perhaps isn't understood is how does it get ranked? It's done by the logs obviously being uploaded, and then I use the confirmed QSOs to filter them in reverse order of the number of users that have worked them or not worked them. So it's the thing that I think perhaps needs to be known is that you have to wait after a big expedition for the effect to be seen, and it can take 6 to 9 months, I've noticed. And that's the delay while people are getting their confirmations cards that turn into QSLs, that then turn into new ADIF files being sent through to Clublog. So obviously, I think when the big expedition teams come home, if they look at the most wanted list, it could be a bit disappointing not seeing any movement for a while. But fear not, because it does work, and they always seem to come out in the end after the sort of period of reconciliation with all the ADIF files. That was all I wanted to say, really, John.
And to add to that, there's been very, very little activity change in the top 20 countries over the last 12 months, and that's because of the pandemic. But one of them that I did notice, the only real change that happened was, and this is from January 2020, number 16 was South Orkney Islands. And, we had right around that time, I think it was February, the Perseverance group was on Orkney, and they did a fantastic job. And now, just as a reference, they are number 45 as of January of 21. So they went quite a bit. And all of that was, just a year. And it was all, like Michael said, all the confirmations that have come in. I'm sure it's further down the list today. I don't have my list in front of me for that, but I do have printouts from January of 21 and January of 20.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for staying up late. Here's a question for you. A couple of questions. Why is Avis Island so difficult to activate?
Well, I think part of it is,
and also San Felix, rather, both of them.
Yeah, for YV0, I think you pretty much have to get there by ship from the Navy, and there's a real political situation going on down there, and money is short. So they got a lot of other problems, like getting food on their table, and I don't think ham radio is a top priority in Venezuela. As for CE0X, it's my understanding that the military will not let anyone on San Felix.
Okay, let's see. To the attendees, thanks for hanging in there today. There's opportunity to talk to Bernie directly if you'd like. If you raise your hand, I can unmute your mic if you want to ask him any questions. And I think we have a couple in the Q&A, right? Let's see. Ron Hilton is making the point that the new radio in the box option, when it becomes activated, is a possible way to activate Mount Athos There's no doubt about that, along with other destinations. That's exactly right.
And the issue with Mount Athos, of course, is getting permission from the religious council.
That's right.
And you know,
I've got two.
It's not a matter of. There's no difficulty physically getting there. There's no difficulty getting radios there. It's not, a
Right.
political problem like, Turkmenistan or North Korea, but more it's a religious recluse, and they like to keep it that way.
The radio in a box is going to be a more practical solution for a lot of islands that are hard to get permission to visit. We got a couple people standing in line for the microphone. First is David Norton. You just have to unmute your phone and there you go, David, go ahead.
Thank you. Hey, Bernie, long time. You remember, I think Chad Harris was involved in starting the DX Bulletin, wasn't he?
Yes, he started the DX Bulletin. That is correct.
Okay, well, thanks for your presentation. Really enjoyed it. Thank you, guys. Back to you,
Thank you,
John.
David.
Okay, thank you. And now John Eisenberg, K6 Yankee Papa, you are live. All you need to do is unmute.
Okay, thanks, John. Bernie, what can you tell us about Syria? My last one.
I can tell you that the main operator is in California.
I know that. How about some
I think it's
guy?
I can't think of his name right this second.
Omar.
Omar, and his son is in Virginia, but there, as far as I know, there are no ham radio operators in Syria, and until the war situation in Syria stops, I don't think we'll see any activity.
Any rumors about Russian army activating it?
I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
Jim Hadlock asked a question. What are the prospects for TI-9 Cocos Island?
I don't have any info on it. I know that one of the TI-2 goes there quite often, and that's about all I know at the moment.
Okay. Any other attendees? If you want to chat, just raise your hand. We got one more, Raymond Benny. You are now able to talk. Just unmute. There you go.
My comment, can you hear me okay?
Yep. What's your call sign?
N6VR.
Hi, Ray.
Hi, John. My comment is haven't been raised up on the West Coast. And even I started in 1960. Working all the KH prefixes was no difficulty at all. Only Curie and maybe Palmyra were a little difficult. A lot of expeditions came out from Navy Town, San Diego. And I remember KP, KH5, whatever it was. But I'm just commenting about the bureaucracy that we have nowadays. I don't think amateur radio contribute to any destruction of these islands. I'm an iota person. Just to get on a little coastal island in California is extremely difficult. So I'm just kind of ashamed of our government having us go through all these hoops and then end up not being activated. When 20, 30 years ago, there was hardly an issue back then. That's all I want to say.
Yes, well, lots of things were better 20 and 30 years ago.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I appreciate your comment, Ray. Delvin Button, let's see if we can get you on the air here. Unmute yourself. What's your call sign?
November Sugar 7 United.
Okay.
Still working on DXCC, and I hope to finish.
Oh, sorry. Let's try that again. Sorry. Try it again.
Is that working?
Yeah, now we're better. Yes.
Very good. So November Sugar 7 United. Still working on DXCC, but I'm getting close and I hope to finish it this year. Has there been a lot of movement in the next 50 or so? The 25, I actually have one of those, which is surprising, but I'm wondering how much other movement is going on in the most wanted.
I don't know about the next 25, but I'm sure there's been some, but I don't know specifically. I'm trying to remember 4U1. I think that's like it was in the 40s, high 40s. I don't know. I don't know if any others in the top. So that would be in the top 50 have been active over the last year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Delvin. Steve Walters, I see your hand high in the air. Unmute your phone. All you need to do is unmute yourself, Steve. Okay.
Yeah, I was clicking and clicking and.
What's your call sign, Steve?
Yeah, it's Steve, Kilo 3 Scotch Whiskey. And I'm only missing BS78, Scarborough Reef. And as we all know, the Chinese are turning it into a military fortress there. I expect there are hundreds of workers out there pouring concrete and steel and whatnot. And I just wonder if Bernie has any insight into why there hadn't been a Chinese DXpeditioner activation on Scarborough Reef. I mean, I'd like to get that one any way I can.
Well, I think it's a little bit political, but it'd be interesting to see if there's any photos of Scarborough Reef here in the last year or so, to see if that rumor is really true, that they're building it up. If they're putting concrete on the reef, don't hold me to it, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it get deleted if that were the case. I don't know if some of the old timers remember Minami Torishima. They ended up pouring concrete on that, and I believe it got deleted.
Well, that's what I've read, is that they are building a runway, an airstrip, and the only way they could do that is to put concrete and whatnot there.
Yeah.
Anyway, but who knows? I think there is a big question about what's going on out there. Thank you very much, Bernie.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, I see Alan Higby. I think you're next.
Yeah, my question is a follow-up from the Scarborough Reef thing. Why would it become deleted if they poured concrete?
Well, it would no longer meet the criteria that it was first put on with. That's my thinking. And they deleted Minami Torishima, I believe, for that same reason.
Okay, thanks.
Don, Whiskey 4, Whiskey Japan. You're up to bat. Just unmute yourself.
Got it. Bernie, good presentation. Thank you. You were asking about the number of years to get into the honor roll or something. I concentrated strictly on CW. Starting on 1 January of 75, I was able to put them all away by March of 1993. Of course, that didn't include P5. So that was at that time 327. So it can be done, but you got to be in the right place at the right time.
Yep. Thanks, Don.
Let's see. Any other questions for Bernie? Jay Kamek says, I think Bernie should challenge Dennis Rodman to a one-on-one game in P5.
Hey, speaking of Dennis Rodman, you know he's a ham. I don't know if you knew that or not. But if you look him up, he's in the call book. I think its call is WR2K. Unfortunately, it's not the basketball player. It's another guy named Dennis Rodman.
Any other questions for Bernie or any of the other panelists who are still with us here? We've got a few guys hanging out, including Ned Stearns, AA7A, Kevin, K6TD, Paul's still here on 6PSE, K3L, Tim is still here, K3LR, plus several members of the NCDXC board. Got any questions for any of the team? Now is your chance, because we're coming around the clubhouse turn. Yeah, I don't see any attendees raising their hand. Oh, Andy Faber. we can always count on Andy. Alpha Echo 6 Yankee, you're up to bat.
Thank you, John. Alpha Echo 6 Yankee. This is perhaps aimed at Paul in 6PSC. I remember a couple of years ago talking to Paul about the possibility of expeditions to Mount Athos. And I seem to recall he had done some serious investigation, including meeting with people there. So I'm wondering if there's any update on that issue.
Paul, you want to unmute yourself? Come alive? It's assuming Paul is still at his microphone and not operating FT8 right now. Paul, are you there? Oh, that was a good question. Nice try, Andy.
Sorry.
That's okay. We'll see what happens. How about you, John? John Eisenberg, you're up to bat.
Okay, I just wanted to say that you, John Miller, and you, E1B, have done one hell of a job. Very, very good job of making a Visalia out of nothing.
Well, sometimes you just have to make lemonade. It's just the way it is, you know. Yeah, it was just worked out so far so good. Thank God for Zoom. Thank God for you know, a great turnout and a great discussion, and all the presenters. The presenters make it all happen. So, thank you for your feedback, John. Appreciate it. But
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, I think
Paul. There's Paul.
Paul, Paul. Okay.
Just
You can, Paul, you know what, Paul, you can run, but you can't hide.
He's coming back.
Did you hear Andy's question about?
Yeah, I did. I was watching on my iPad and I couldn't unmute from it. And then,
are you sure? I think you're just putting out more FT8.
Yeah, no, and then when I fired up the laptop, then I had feedback through the iPad, so I had to go ditch the
That's
iPad
okay.
in the other
It's
room.
okay.
The situation in Mount Athos is really, really complicated and mired in religious acrimony. My Greek friends who are very close to the situation there tell me that after Monk Apollo died, there was a proclamation by the Lara Epistasia, which is the church council in Mount Athos, that basically said that after Monk Apollo's passing, there would be no more amateur radio in Mount Athos. There's a real interesting situation there with some of the monks in Mount Athos. If you Google the term rebellious Athos monks, you'll see that there's quite an uprising. There's several monasteries that make their own rules and do their own things. And my own personal theory is that any activity, radioactivity from there is probably involved with that.
Rebellious monks is not a term you normally hear in the same sentence.
Rebellious Athos monks. Well, when we were there in 2012 and we met with the fire chief and the police chief, we went in the police station and we saw the jail and we said, who do you usually lock up? And he said, monks. And then, so we asked more about it. So apparently, you know, when you deny people many of the things in life that we enjoy, when they imbibe a little bit, they do tend to go a little crazy. So there is a jail in Carriers, the capital there in Mount Athos, and I guess monks are the frequent flyers there. But anyway, I don't think we're going to really see any legitimate approved activity. I think probably our best hope is if one of the police officers or firefighters that are associated with the government police station or fire station there became a ham. That might work out. The fire chief there is a former high-speed CW military guy, and he could probably be recruited to do some ham radio activity.
I think you told me some time ago, Paul, that Monk Apollo early in the game convinced the monastery that only his QSOs would be blessed.
Um,
One of the reasons he was the only operator for a while.
Yeah, I've more or less been told that by my Greek friends. So, you know, it's a very convoluted situation.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. All right, we're at the witching hour here.
Yep.
Last chance, attendees. Any other questions for the panel, for our great panelists who are here? Oh, there's a couple questions for you, Bernie. They're related to your business. One, how many subscribers? Len Giraldi says, how many subscribers does Bernie have? And then how much is a subscription to DailyDX from James Mischer? Might as well get a little marketing going here.
Okay, all right. Well, let's put it this way. There's enough for me to keep going, but not enough for my wife to retire.
Okay, good answer.
As far as the subscriptions go. Got subscribers in all 50 states, I think 85, 86 countries. So that's where a number of the sources come from. Plus, I've got some 17,000 contacts in my iPhone to keep up with people. And then subscriptions are $49 for a year of the DailyDX, $27 a year for the weekly DX. And if you want both and you got money burning a hole in your pocket, you can get them both for $59.
Do you sell your caps too online?
No, these are
what?
exclusive.
Come on. All right. I think that we're going to say 73 to you. Oop, I do have one. David D. Coons, hold on. Your microphone is active.
Yep. Okay. Got it unmuted. Hi guys. Dave, WO2X here. Just one quick question before you guys run. I did work Monk Apollo right before he passed, and I never got it confirmed. Any way to get that confirmed?
I think so. For a while, you could send it basically to his call book address. I know for at least 6 months that was working. Someone, I don't know who, was answering the cards. You might try that. If that doesn't work, you might want to email me later and I might be able to help you out with that.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'll send them with like $5 or something in it to cover the card.
Yeah, just enough to cover the postage. They don't, anything more goes, you know, and you can, $2 or $3 will cover the postage. Yep. I can tell you that.
Okay, thank you very much, Bernie.